Hello. Today we have an amazing guest in the Reasonable Dialogue Project. Let me introduce him, artist, philosopher, writer, traveler Alexander Khakimov. Alexander Gennadievich is the person who has been popularizing ancient scriptures and Vedas for 30 years now. And today, with your permission, Alexander Gennadievich, I will ask you what the Vedas recommend for the preservation and strengthening of the family. Alexander Gennadievich Khakimov. Well, first of all, I want to say that it is a great honor for me to talk with you today. Please tell me the first question right away. Can you call yourself a happy family man?
I think I can say even more. It's just happiness. It also has some standard ideas at home, in the family. Well, as people say. Well, so that the job is stable, the salary is good, so that there is an apartment, so that you don't swear with your wife, let's say. So that the children are obedient. In this regard, all this has always been there. Although I do not work, there is no salary, but somehow I do not think about it. In other words, I think these standards have never bothered me. It goes without saying that there should be some kind of peace and understanding in the family. I'm not even thinking about it. Well, I get more from my family than just some personal comfort or convenience or security. Because in my case, family it helps me to move towards the goal of life, which we set high in the family. According to ancient books, writings, the meaning of life. We are all looking for the meaning of life as a family. Therefore, these issues are solved somehow easier, I think, related to our relations. We don't have long showdowns, for example, some or deep grievances never accumulate. It's like more on the surface going on, as you know.
I'm sorry, I'm talking about the meaning of life here. But what is it?
The meaning of life. But first of all, we need to look for it, this meaning of life, because there are stages of perfection. And each person is at his own stage. He must see the next step. That's the point of seeing your next step and the ultimate goal of life. The ultimate goal of life is absolutely spiritual, immaterial. That is, in a material sense, there is no such goal that would satisfy our mind, our heart. Neither the amount of money nor any material resources can bring complete peace, satisfaction. In other words, it is a spiritual phenomenon, meaning spiritual because our happiness it has a boundless nature, and in the spirit it expands.
And you and your spouse immediately became like minded people, found each other, or were looking for each other. It was a joint journey. Two young people met and realized that, in principle, they look at life the same way and began to move on.
I think it's a matter of some kind of luck or something, not even my analysis or her analysis. We were young then. We could not understand what would happen to us in 20 or 30 years. They had no idea about the future. But here's some luck during the circumstances that our interests, they deeply coincided. At first, they did not coincide from a professional point of view. We studied at the same school, in the same educational institution. We are artists by education. We were students together, although we didn't pay much attention to each other right away. We studied, finished studying, and only after that we got to know each other properly. On this interest, in order to study further, to achieve something. At first, there was a purely professional interest, also an artistic, internal interest. And then it turned out that our interests and deep ones also coincide. I call it luck, because it's like I didn't plan it. Something like this can happen. I didn't see that potential, maybe. And she didn't see this potential either, but it opened up and it turned out that we want it together. We want to dedicate our lives together.
What should young people see in each other when they get married in order for this luck to happen later? It turned out that people look, breathe, think the same way.
This is an interesting question, a qualitative question. I mean, it's possible to recognize what you're talking about from the point of view of qualities. Because from the point of view of chronology, we don't know what will happen. I can like a person, even one with whom I may be unhappy in the future. I can like him, I can love him. For a while strongly very feelings can be held. But we are missing at this point, the question of the qualities of the two sides. It is very important that they coincide, the main fundamental qualities in two people, as described in the Gita, for example. There is a whole chapter that describes the divine demonic natures, that is, the various qualities of people. That every person has pluses, there are minuses, and there is some kind of nature prevailing, even at the same time. Because there are demons and there are divine natures. A demon is people rebelling, constantly remaking everything. They are arrogant, vain, they can be rude, cruel in achieving goals. They can use any means, that is, the divine nature. They are different, they are more modest, they do not enter into any fights. They do not try to prove something by force. They have more intrinsic values. These are different types of people, and it is not recommended to combine them together in a higher relationship. They don't match.
I thought, on the contrary, they would balance each other.
They will fight all their lives. These are the fundamental qualities that should coincide. There should be one platform. But on this platform, they can already complement each other as if already on the platform. But if the platforms are different, imagine the foundations are different. It turns out that two separate houses are being built for a different life. They live together, but each builds his own life, and then it doesn't turn out. After 5 years, it turns out that we have different goals, different lives in general.
But how can we teach this to young people? That's how I can tell my 23-year-old daughter. You choose a person with the same divine nature. In other words, how is it taught? How can this be done at all?
First, everyone needs to make a choice within themselves. That's the mistake yet. Because now these qualities are mixed in people. Everyone has both mixed up in such a chaotic state. Therefore, it is necessary to make a choice. What do I choose as the way of life? Will I develop my demonic nature? Or will I develop divinely? Because that's how it won't last together for a long time. Then they don't serve the masters. You need to choose one thing to be successful. You know, when a person is torn apart by these contradictions inside, he will not be successful. He will be a doubter. Here he believes in God and doubts at the same time. He will not be there successfully. A successful person is not there. Do you understand? The Lord's house is downstairs. You need to give yourself completely to something. And this is what a young man should make a choice with the help of his elders. Here he will be a demonic Putin chooses. It's good if it's a choice. Let him find a life partner of the same. In any case, it is favorable for the family. Even for demons, there is some kind of culture, morality, ethics. This can also be developed, but these are basic different things. They cannot touch directly demonic divine natures. They are at a distance to be, and at a distance, it can be peaceful to exist. And there will always be conflicts in close relationships.
It's a pity that this is not taught in schools.
Well, you see, you can teach, yes, but it's harder to make a choice because everyone believes that he is a divine nature. But you need to show what a divine nature is. Here I studied at school. You also studied at school, studied at other institutions. I communicated with people. Before I embarked on this path, this is exactly a meaningful path. I am now aware that for all these years, for 27 years before I embarked on this path, I lived for 27 years, I was already, well, an adult, an independent family man. I have never, I have never been taught to use the quality of humility, patience, and reverence. I have always been told that a person sounds proud, always has his own opinion. Defend your positions, fight for survival. The world is like this. If you're going to be so quiet, so humble, complacent, don't use these qualities ever. You don't need to. You need to be proud. Love yourself, respect yourself, defend your opinion. And if you know how to stand up for yourself, you need to. Here is a man to a man wolf. It was in such a struggle for survival as Darwin's theory of evolution that I was not brought up in the aspect of survival. The struggle for survival, I was released to school. Therefore, I was not divinely taught to use these qualities. It was considered a weakness. That is, some kind of man in general. How can you create relationships without service and show some kind of love without service if you are not a servant? You are a servant in the family, no one else. But if you think that you are the main person and master in the family, you are the destroyers of the family, you are a demon.
Should there be a head in the family?
The head, of course, making decisions.
Is it a man or a woman?
By nature, this is a man.
Well, that's when at meetings dedicated to family topics. I'm talking about patience, humility, service. Young girls are very angry, very angry. It often happens. They say, I am not a servant. I do not want to serve. I don't want to be patient. Why should I put up with it? How can we teach this and what to do if we already have such a finished product? That is, a whole generation of young people who are ambitious, vain, and do not understand what humility and reverence are.
This is typical for young people. They have a natural pride, youth, beauty, strength. The future is ahead. That is, the energy reserve is very large. It's just like a person has a lot of money and lives luxuriously. But then the stock is depleted, starting to think. It becomes less money, and in the end, somehow you need to apply reason. Their health is treated differently, and people are treated differently. I've ruined so many relationships. That is, in 20 years, they begin some kind of experience, begin to understand life in general a little bit. Something? I abused these here with my beauty, my youth, it's not to become something else. That's the kind of people we miss out on life. So that life beats them well, you know. Then either hospitals, or there are courts of some kind, or relationships are spoiled for life, or illnesses come already, everything. And now we need to talk about this, about these consequences of such behavior, as it were. Yes, it's hard to tolerate, because there is an ego self-love. But we are talking about love for a person first of all. If you love a person, will you tolerate it? When you give birth to a child, you will tolerate him, you will serve him. How can you create relationships without service and show some kind of love without service if you are not a servant? In the family, you are a servant, no one else. But if you think that you are the main person in the family and the master, you are the destroyers of the family, you are a demon. You are a demonic person. You are subjugating, you are trying to create a family with the help of fear and submission. These are not family principles. The family principle is always spiritual. Family is a spiritual concept.
Should there be a head in the family?
The head, of course, making the decision.
Is it a man or a woman?
By nature, this is a man. By nature. But now these qualities are mixed. It is so mixed that it is already difficult to understand who is a man, who is a woman. Again, this is our upbringing, our culture. It comes to this gradually, that we no longer have a male ideal, a female ideal. No matter how he stays, it's more or less formal. And functionally, a man may not perform such a role now. He may be a weak mind. And why is he weak in mind? Because he communicates incorrectly with women.
And how should we communicate?
You need to communicate with women so as not to lose your mind, not to lose your head. Now it's fashionable to lose your head, you know. Oh, I fell in love, and that's it, that's it. It's fashionable to show this feeling that I'm out of control. Look, you see, I'm kind of spontaneous, uncontrollable. But it's indecent for a man. A man takes responsibility when he falls in love. The next step is responsibility. Love's the next step is responsibility. He is just becoming firmer in mind because life is ahead. We need to achieve something together. Goals and plans immediately appear together. That's a family. And this is called sensual pleasure. Losing his head, losing his mind. That's it, I can't do anything. I can only drink vodka. I can drink, I can talk about my pain, about my love, I can cry. This has become fashionable. But we can't create a family like that.
What in the family, according to the Vedas, is the man responsible for, and what is the woman responsible for? Well, we know approximately what's there, but if you take it deeper, in addition to cooking, eating, ironing shirts.
A woman is the biggest expert, it's in relationships, in the family. A man is much more stupid in this regard. It's manageable in that sense. That is, if you see that a man is inspired, always collected, determined, it means a good wife. That is, here she is an expert, she knows how to keep him in good condition, mood, health, and other reputation. This is the influence of his wife. If you see a woman peaceful, calm, not curious, it means a very good husband.
Not curious.
Not curious. Curiosity is a vice for a woman. For a girl, it's a good virtue, curiosity. For a married woman with children, this is the threshold. She doesn't interfere in any business. She already knows everything. She's an expert in relationships. She doesn't need to interfere with her because they come to her themselves. She's a relationship magnet. She doesn't need to die. Well, she interferes somewhere she's not an expert in relationships. This is not that woman, not a Vedic woman. As a rule, I have observed such things. Why does a man take a second wife? Because I'm tired of the first one.
Yes, this is a very traumatic experience for many women. They share, talk about it.
The injuries are deep. Now it is so.
There are a lot of conversations today, and I try to ask this question to various experts in family matters. Today, there is a lot of talk about such an institute as Tokal. This is an Asian, Kazakh concept, probably. This is the second wife. What do you think about this?
This is another fashion gone.
Well, of course, it's very ancient.
Well, yes, ancient. Now the fashion resumes again. What used to be, they want to resume. But in what consciousness this person does, that's what's important. As a rule, I have observed such things. Why does a man take a second wife? Because I'm tired of the first one. Here. But if you look at the ancient culture, this was not a reason to take a second wife. There were completely different reasons. A man by his nature, a man's nature, can love several women. A woman cannot love several men. It is arranged differently. Therefore, different family ways exist. For a woman and a man, different instructions, rules, and prescriptions are given. That is, a woman should have only one husband herself. Then a man can love several women at the same time, which is not clear to a woman at all. Here. But love, as we say, generates responsibility. Now there are no such responsible people in modern times. They haven't been brought up yet. Then taking a second wife is just a sexual whim now. To put it bluntly, it's rude to say.
Yes.
Rude to say. Let people not be offended, and it's all understandable, life here, life. But if we talk about things as they really are, then they will be unhappy. That is, one of them will be unhappy.
Yes, this is a very traumatic experience for many women. They share, talk about it.
The injuries are deep. Now it is so. Why was this allowed in the past? And why was this accepted in the past? Although she always said that it was better to have one wife, it was still allowed. The laws were as follows. Because according to statistics, there are more women than men in society. But a woman must be married. It is mandatory, necessary for her. And in accordance with this, a man could accept more than one wife so that there would be harmony in society from this point of view. That is, they were thinking about some kind of harmonious social relations, not just about their personal whims. And at the same time, they could treat these wives equally, provide for them equally, support, and maintain peace and cooperation. This is a completely different relationship scheme if another wife is added there. No one knows about it now. It's just to arrive.
Cooperation.
In my opinion.
Cooperation. It's impossible between two women
You see,
who are struggling with.
again, one goal. If it's one family, one goal, they should help each other achieve this goal. They then just arrange disassembly all their lives. It's not a family anymore.
And how to raise children, Alexander Gennadievich. Well, look, I want an iPad. I want an iPhone. I want something. A boy classmate has one, but I don't.
I've never seen anything like it. The whole floor, there were spiral-shaped straws of different diameters, there were straws with badges, there were different lengths. And the children went and said, "So, firm this saw, firm this saw, firm this did not drink." This is stimulated because every day there is a new straw, or every week a new suit, or every 6 months a new car model. It's just stimulated. There's no need for that.
You have spoken about sexual pleasures, and how do the Vedas relate to this side, to the sensual side? Not to the spiritual, but to the sensual, as it were, and somehow they intersect.
The Vedas treat this as fire, these desires for sense gratification as fire. Fire is necessary in the house. Well, now there are, as it were, heating systems in the city. There is no fire in the apartments, but there is fire in the boiler rooms. In other words, in this sense, a fire is necessary to keep it warm, to cook food. But the fire should be within reasonable limits. It is appropriate in the oven, but if it goes outside the oven and the apartment burns down, the house burns down, this is bad. That is under control. That's how to do it to the fire. Or as to salt. Salt in food, a lot is bad, a little is bad. As much as you need good. That is regulated activity. Now we see the reverse process in culture. And it stimulates this interest artificially through the mass media. It is stimulated through modern culture.
By the way, I don't understand why this is being done. Why? Why such a process or so active?
The Vedas describe that in the last king, they regulated the activities of society in this way.
So it was.
It was, but it was reasonable within the limits. If the Tsar needed people to become more active, he added this salt fire. If they are overly active, a lot of conflicts start he had to reduce. And so the temperature should balance at a healthy level of society, not too passive and not too overly hyperactive, where there are a lot of conflicts. It depends on how men and women communicate in society, how many sensual pleasures do they have. Acceptable. This is regulated in general by all activities and culture.
It seems to me that it can be energy of the same order. Sexual energy, consumption, such a huge shaft. Yes, consumption. And I fail in my guesses that this is artificially imposed by more. But it leads, it seems to me, to loneliness.
They don't think about it because there is simply money behind it, profit. That's what they think about, the benefits. And the results are rather unexpected consequences for them, too, because they do not have such a mind now, our leaders, to foresee the future of society. These are the key points. They don't see what comes from what and what the result is. Therefore, you are right. In order to sell and consume more, people must consume a lot of useless, unnecessary things. It is necessary to artificially stimulate this desire with the help of advertising and culture. If you go into a modern supermarket, there are more than 90% of things, items that a person can do without.
Yes.
I was in Finland once before. Back in the early 90s, I came to Helsinki. And my daughter asked me to bring her abroad, you know what, she was little, to drink a straw. You know, there were no straws then in the post-Soviet Union. There were no straws on sale. It was a miracle for the child. I promised that I would buy this straw and bring it here. I went to the store. There was a whole floor of straws. I've never seen anything like it. The whole floor, there were spiral-shaped straws of different diameters. There were straws with badges. There were different lengths. And the children went and said, so, from this saw, from this saw, from this did not drink. This is stimulated because every day there is a new straw, or every week a new suit, or every 6 months a new car model. It's just stimulated. There's no need for that. Here he lives in the village. He has one horse, he has lived with it for 20 years, talks and knows, and rides it. It may be too primitive, but he is balanced, a man. He is balanced. But this culture, this crazy consumption and production, makes people unbalanced, just crazy. If you start talking about some permanent values, they don't hear. They need something new, 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 new.
And how to raise children, Alexander Genadevich. Well, look at it. I want an iPad. I want an iPhone. I want something like this. A boy classmate has one, but I don't. Well, what about it?
It takes a lot of love to raise children. Otherwise, they will get carried away with things, force you to work for things. If you don't give, they will be told by a bad mother, a bad father. All relationships will deteriorate, because things determine the love of a child now. Yes, they fall into a family where things determine love. How does dad love mom? He gives her something. And when she likes this thing, she is happy with this thing, so there is love. That's where they get it from. Then they watch TV shows or look into how the neighbors live. The same thing. That depends on what and how to give, what he gives. But they don't see this heartfelt feeling, they don't hear it. When it is not the subject itself that is important, but the feeling with which it is presented, to which it will be buried later. All my life, somewhere, you know, in a book, this unfortunate flower with a flower bed in general is dried up. And you keep it as a jewel in general. And the children don't see it now. There are no such jewels. Me and Pod. There are these sorts of things. And that's why this is love, and they don't say, they think. And how to educate, if we have such love. Electronic.
Demonstrate more, show true feelings.
The heart. The heart.
Alexander Genadevich, you travel a lot. Are there any countries that you would designate as a whole if it is clear that the situations are different for different families, for different people? Are there any countries where, on the whole, the situation is so healthy with families, and the countries where some problems are happening right now, and where is our country, our Kazakhstan in this sense?
The problem is everywhere now, all over the world, but as far as I see and hear, more, less. And even sadder information is that even where there are some traditions, they are also dying out before our eyes. Here, everything is falling, values are falling, and we won't be able to raise them now, just discuss topics. If we do not achieve the application of values, the knowledge that is inapplicable dies. Here is the family, the institution of the family is dying because these values are not applied. As you say, young girls say, I'm not hired, I'm not a servant. That's it, it doesn't apply. We do not teach them to apply humility, reverence, patience, love, service. There is no education. As soon as we begin to apply it ourselves, here we will gain power. Let it be one, two people, but powerful people. And when powerful people speak, they influence, they have the power to do it. And so just what do we have now, at the moment? Let's go there and raise the issue of family. And what do we hear? Just worry, just anxiety, just a bunch of misfortunes, some little good examples. Let's look at them. And everything stops there. There is no development. At the level of feelings, it's a pity, we cried. That's a pity for some kind of family, let's say. Or there is a normal family, more or less, in the midst of this chaos. And we think, that's good. But this is all a falling system, understand? This is a falling ear anyway, which we are trying to figure out. Or, as Christ said, we sew a new salary on old clothes. But in general, all the clothes they are already dilapidated, they need to be changed.
So, what to do?
That's it, that's the question. Here's how to do it, what to do it. The family has a divine origin. This is the place to start. We will not build a family with your human powers. Human, biological forces are nothing but just a sexual relationship, nothing more. That's the whole biology of man. There is animal nature. Animals don't have such strong family traditions, they quickly forget these things. What is a family? It's a religion. It is a living religion. Now the religion in the church is a mosque, but at home I do what I want. What I watch, what I turn on, I watch. What I want, I do in general. Even debauchery, even drunkenness, and everything is allowed in the family. No, the mosque should be at home. Cleanliness should be in the house. Divinely should be in the house. These are the kind of families that need to be built and shown. This is what needs to be applied. This needs to be done.
But how to combine this joy of life that you are talking about, this freedom? You have given examples of same sex marriages. And now, if you talk about it, you are not tolerant, you are a retrograde, and God is still who?
Why do we cry when we see Jesus crucified? We feel sentimental because it is a great sacrifice, an innocent lamb on the cross. Well, you can feel it and cry. Yes. And then we go to have fun with young girls and drink. Because this joy is not on the cross.
Something on our level. Here I am, my partners, colleagues, friends. Can they influence the situation?
If we give an attractive image of God to people, it will save millions of people. Not religion. Because this word God is identified with religion incorrectly. Now religions don't give God. In general, speaking from an external point of view, from a political, economic, moral point of view, here is the Christian world in Europe and same-sex marriage. How did this happen? Religion can't stop it, look. Religion. So it's not there. She has no real power. It formally exists, but it has no real power, and the rest is immorality. Show a clean lifestyle and attract people there. People are attracted by other things. And this is already sanctioned by religion. See what's going on.
Show an attractive image.
Therefore, religion does not give God. And the task of religion is to give an attractive image of God, not to struggle with these things, to give a positive process. And since they do not have this experience of divine communication themselves, it has remained more or less, well, some kind of religious ritual tradition, completely unintelligible. People don't even understand what's going on. Well, tell me, who of the people now goes to the temple, mosque or temple, asks God, and immediately gets what he wants? Nobody. Gets nothing. In addition, here I have prayed, confessed my sins, and forgive me, Lord, I'm going to sin again. That's all. That's the level to which this science has descended. Great science, look. Why do we cry when we see Jesus crucified? We feel sentimental because it is a great sacrifice, an innocent lamb on the cross. Okay, can you feel it and cry? Yes. Well, and then we go to have fun with young girls and drink, because this joy is not on the cross. How to combine it? Look, here is this cross, here is this horror, and here is my happiness. There is no such thing in religion. Where is happiness in religion? Maybe religion is happiness, family happiness. And it can only scare you, you will go to hell. I'm sorry that religion is now, I say negatively. Not negatively. Religion in a person's heart, religion in a person's family, religion in motherhood, in fatherhood, religion in responsibility. These are all spiritual concepts. That's what you need to understand, that religion is you and me. We are with you, we are living beings. Religion is inseparable from life. This is not just some formal office where we register. This is our life, religion. This is our mind.
But how to combine this joy of life that you are talking about, this freedom? You have given an example with same sex marriage. After all, now, if you talk about it, you are not tolerant, you are a retrograde, and God knows who else. How to combine it, and is it possible, and is it necessary?
For example, what is the difference between a person and an animal? How can we briefly determine this? The subtle intellect is more developed, let's say, the more refined feelings of the heart. Yes, he feels more, experiences more. Therefore, when we commit violence against a person, we understand how bad it is, he feels it subtly. Violence with an animal is also bad, but it feels less, you see, it is rougher. Here's a dog I can hit in my face, she's already sucking up in a minute, she forgot everything, you see, forgives right there. That is, it is rougher arranged intelligence. If there is a lower form of life, even coarser intelligence, you can still cut them there, they will be nearby, others will chew the grass calmly. Living beings are not aware of this. And if you cut down a tree, it doesn't understand anything at all. This is all life into various forms of life. Now let's see what is happening to people now. Are they turning into animals, as for same-sex marriage? Do they lose their sense of responsibility, the desire to procreate good children? Don't people who are interested in same-sex relationships lose it? They lose sight of who they turn into. There is no such kind of animal. This is a man. He says, he becomes worse than an animal, that he is endowed with human intelligence. He does it, he makes laws, you see. He invents a new culture, a very dangerous culture. Because when it's the law, people will treat it normally by others. They bring up a new generation in the same spirit, but they lose their pedigree, dynasty, responsibility, traditions. They are losing the future, because the future is in these very children, who will accept their laws, and become even worse. They will turn into animals. Everything, this whole civilization.
But what about overpopulation?
Overpopulation is possible only in the lower forms of life. But since there I eat each other, they regulate it in this way. If we slide down, and we have this overpopulation, uncontrolled sexual activity, and so on. Now there are artificial means of protection, because a person does not control the mind of this activity, is not able to simply weakened. Then wars regulate everything, or some other artificial ways. Overpopulation does not exist in a reasonable society, because people control the birth rate with their minds. For example, one cow needs a hectare of land. If you have a cow, you need a hectare of land to keep it. This is how it is measured. If 2 cows, 2 hectares of land. 3. Well, how many cows will you have? According to reason, as much land there is, so much cow will be started. But it's the same in the family. How many children you will have is reasonable. In other words, nature itself gives us the opportunity to show intelligence and control this process. He should not be in an uncontrolled, blinded state. I gave birth to children, then I do not know what to do, how to raise them, how to support them. There is no money, there is no one, there is no reason. I breed, you know, some strange ones. Strange offspring. Only in a society that brings problems. When I was still in school, in the lower grades, we had a town in the north where there is about 30,000 people, a small one. So they knew a lot about each other. And the family was known throughout the city. A family of criminals. My mother was in prison. She was in prison several times. 10 sons are a huge family, and all criminals. And moreover, the family is strong, strong. They stand up to each other, you know, very much. To offend someone is everything, they will forgive. Everyone knew it was better not to touch them at all. But they were all bandits. These are the traditions. There was the strongest family in general in our city, and the most cohesive family, as it were. Yes, yes, yes. In other families there were divorced and, no, the kids are all there. But who did they breed? Take a look. That they brought the society anxiety. Then, when perestroika began, these 90s, they all became some kind of racketeers, some kind of bandits. Then they all shot each other, all these groups. They all died as in the war. Here is an example. That is, here is a big family. But how useful is it for society? Let's start with this. How useful am I for society in general? A woman is useful for society. This is when she is a mother. If she's not a mother, she's just a woman, she's already causing society anxiety.
We let the child choose for himself, make his own decision, bear responsibility, and we just take his position for granted.
The mother is the person who prays for the child. This is primarily because the child has no connection with God yet. His connection with God is the mother. She will shoot God.
And why do modern girls today, in your opinion, are in such a hurry to become mothers? They say, we want to go for a walk. This is the wording. We want to live ourselves.
Fashion. Yes, the fashion of sensual pleasures. Because marriage is everything. Then you will be a servant for the whole life of your children, husband, stand at the stove. What else is there? Not.
Although it's not very difficult, so much.
One of the sides is that life has become more difficult economically. These crises, tensions, stresses, there are more of them. And if we characterize the modern institution of marriage as a whole, then to a greater extent, now people do not trust each other. Men and women. Distrust is growing. They are not sure that they will be able to live well all their lives. They don't know if they're going to get divorced or not.
But after all, no one knew before Alexander Gennadievich. I didn't know either when I got married 25 years ago. I just knew what to save. Well, there are all sorts of difficulties.
My grandmother knew that she got married, but there would be no divorce. And the second grandmother is the same. My husband, my grandfather, died in the war. From mother to father with grandmothers. 5, that is, 6 children left. 6 of them. She didn't get married because of the children. People were responsible. There were no divorces. They knew that if I married again, it would be unfavorable for the children. That is, they knew these things. It's fine now. There are no such strong relationships. There are no such mothers anymore. Maybe they are, and I think there should be such mothers. We just don't see them. We don't hear them. They are not fashionable. Now, it's not prestigious to be such a mother now. And we need to create an image of a real mother. Gorky made the revolution his mother's work. The film The Communist recognized communism all over the world. You see, the image is created by a strong person. It's not fashionable now. But she doesn't dress fashionably. She doesn't look fashionable. She doesn't talk fashionably. She doesn't walk around. All this is not fashionable. They are not seen.
In this sense, I remembered when I interview women and ask them about this aspect of life, how to invest in a child, really invest. If a child is talented, it means to develop him and give him great chances. If a child, well, a child is like a child. I think there are any talents, then just give him the opportunity to try and develop in different directions become a harmonious personality. Almost 100% of women say, no, why? The child is talented, he will break through, but I have my own life. And now you are saying that you are practically promoting sacrifice. Here are 6 children who have not married. How is it in the modern world?
Look, the child will break through by himself. He will make his way. This is what he will learn, that it is necessary to break through, to go over someone's heads. It's necessary to break through. And how much interference? Look, everyone wants to go there. We have to fight our way through. For him, this world is such a crowd that you need to break through. An impersonal crowd that just runs like a traffic jam on the road. We need to get through somehow. All this is a hindrance, a hindrance, a hindrance, a hindrance. What is not a person is a hindrance, do you understand? Somehow you need to bypass, outwit, break through, achieve, surpass, step over. That's it. And I have my own life, fight your way through for survival. On the other hand, this is one extreme. At the other extreme, where did it come from? From the fact that the sacrificial mother gives him everything. Here you are a talent. Here you will go to study. I will be here. I'll squeeze this money out of myself for work. I'm going to die for you. Another egoist. You see, the parasite is being brought up. So now it's time to say I'm a parasite. Why do I need a parasite at all? I am a person too. I have to live fully. Let him make his way. And I will live these two extremes. And what used to be in the traditions. The mother is the person who prays for the child. This is first of all, because the child has no connection with God yet. His connection with God is the mother. She is the representative of God. And why is she praying for him? Why pray if she feeds him and gives him water and buys everything? Everything is there, right? What is she praying for? What is she worried about? He begins to think her anxiety. And she is wise. She knows that a child can become proud and that he can become evil, can become selfish. That's what she's praying for. That he remained human at the same time with everything and did not make his way over the head somewhere. The mother prays. The mother is the representative of God. And the kids get that connection. That's what the family tradition is, the main thing. It must be divine. And so if I give everything away, I raise parasites simply. Then I see it myself as my mistake. Unfortunately, I have not lived for myself. Why didn't the children need them at all? It would be better not to give birth to them at all. Why at all? Such a result.
Do children owe their parents?
Children are indebted to their parents for their prayer.
After all, there are 2 traditions. The Western one is that we allow the child to choose for himself, to make a decision for himself, to be responsible, and we just take his position as a given. And the second one is, such a Chinese one. Let's say yes, that I will decide everything for you. You will be an Olympic champion. I will take you to all training sessions and pay for them and fight for your victories. But you owe me your whole life afterwards.
Trade, yes, there are different deals, contracts.
Where is the golden mean?
The golden mean is God. Look, I serve God. What does this mean? That I selflessly do something for people. This is serving God in a practical sense. In an egoistic sense, I serve God for myself. I do something for myself. This is not serving God. This is also a service, but not to God. God means to everyone. A complete whole. All taken together, there is also God. Therefore, I also think about the good of everything. As far as possible in my power, I'm trying to serve, to be useful for society, for everything, for the world out there. Who thinks how, you know? This is the word God. And if I want to benefit someone, then I must also teach them to serve God in exactly the same way. This is education. It's not that I serve him, but he uses it. These are these. That's why I don't want to serve, the girls say. He will use it. And everyone should serve. That's the thing. The answer lies in this. Everyone should serve wife, husband, and children, all servants of God. See. And this family is unselfish. Here it is. Selfless, voluntary, loving service. But without God, it's exploitation. That's the secret. That's why we say, religion does not give these things now. Practically speaking, it does not give away. No, no. Someone has to give. But the one who understands these values the most, he can give. The rest will either allow themselves to be exploited or renounce this life. It's easy to live for themselves.
A 12-year-old daughter who has entered such a time of contradictions, in such a period as it is called transition age, She has a chance.
We are living people, and we need to understand each other, feel each other. This is education. Being attentive to each other is education. That is, love educates a person.
Should children be punished?
Yes. This one? This is for infants. That's when he gets naughty there. So to spank, he understands that his mother doesn't like it, that he doesn't understand the words yet. Here. And if there is a connection in the heart, education is a simple thing. The child is brought up by the parent's mindset. He's watching mom likes it, but she doesn't like it. If the connection is deep, it is important for him. It becomes important because mom doesn't like it and dad doesn't like it. He feels bad about it. That's parenting. This is education. We are living people, and we must understand each other, feel each other. This is education. Being attentive to each other is education. That is, love educates a person.
This is necessary only from infancy. If, let's say, now my friend has a 12-year-old daughter who has entered such a time of contradictions, in such a period, what is it called? Transition age, right? Does she have a chance to change this relationship, or should she have started earlier? In general, from what point?
We've missed a lot of time already. A lot. I think we missed the time even before the baby appeared. We had already made mistakes. Because children come from the mind of their parents. Conception has subtle causes, a subtle process. This is the mindset of parents, their qualities, their relationship of spouses. This is the product of this relationship, the child. The error was still there, it was being formed. It may not have been such a deep relationship, or there was an imposition of grievances, some imperfections or excessive lust. Or a child began to get intoxicated in Satan. There are different examples now, or just accidentally out of lust. And all this is embodied in our descendants. That's how a child is born. It is born out of the parent's mind, out of the heart. If the heart was empty, he will be born such a child with an empty heart, but having a desire to enjoy.
Nothing can be done.
No, you can. In other words, this is the kind of material we are talking about. But how can we change this material if we created it ourselves? Right? You can change yourself first. I can redo it, but first it will change itself. It's the same as if I create something as an artist, I'm the author of this work. And while I am, and when I see these imperfections, my imperfections are work, I will be able to understand that I need to work on myself, improve my qualifications. Only then will I be able to come back again and remake my work. Otherwise, how will it be remade? Tell me, who will remake it? This is my work. That's what I have to do. But how will I do it if I don't improve myself? I have to understand, here they are imperfections embodied, so I made mistakes. I have it all in me. Aggravated in the child already, of course, many times aggravated. But I have to change myself now, and then I can have a beneficial effect on all of this. Change, fix something. It's harder to fix it, of course, but it's possible. That is, to work on yourself. It is necessary to work, of course, with future and present parents who form families here. But this is a very important point.
And at what age should I start a family?
Age. It's very good if a girl already knows who her husband will be at the age of 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Already knows about it. No longer rushing, not looking. That's it, she's already balanced. There are no such traditions now, of course, but there were once in the past. They already knew, even for 8 years, some girls that who would be the husband, and did not worry.
Oh, come on. It's going to be such a scandal. I'll choose and find it myself.
They didn't have any relationship, but they just knew. The relationship was you know what. This little girl here, she's been cooking for him already. He ate it, they communicated in this way. And food bound them for life. It's a secret. I am now revealing subtle secrets how powerful food is. When you cook for your husband, it's completely different. When you cook for yourself, for children, or as a grandmother cooks for grandchildren, these are different things. Or go to the canteens, these are different things. Don't eat in the dining room, please, it's bad for the family. Restaurants, canteens for family people need to be closed. The best restaurant should be at their home. And guests. So, food should not be sold so easily for money. Only animals are fed this way, I'm sorry.
So, at what age are a man and a woman? 2025.
2025 is a man. Well, how to say, this is the gold standard. Now, again, there are few such men. You see how difficult it is to apply standards. Now a serious man becomes 45, 50 years old.
And before that, everything is a boy.
Before that, it's unclear what. Seriously, it's unclear what. But if you teach him to control his feelings, then at the age of 20, he will already be a strong, solid-minded man, capable of taking responsibility. And if you train control and senses it. From the age of 5, education already begins for boys. And as he controls his feelings, he becomes stronger as a man. 25 years old, he should already be an accomplished family man. That's it, approved. This is the gold standard. Now we see the mass of a million people, are uncertain in general. They have no solution in their head. They do not exist in life. Doubters or some with a weak mind, or living with the flow does not make sense at all. There are millions of such people now. That's what we produce.
But these women don't want to get married at that age.
Married because the family in their understanding is an obstacle to sensual pleasures.
Yes, yes.
This means that the institution of the family has simply weakened. It is not interesting there. It's more interesting to be outside. These superficial relationships are more interesting than entertainment.
But it's so important to take place, to realize yourself. We were taught this way in order to be interesting to our husband, so as not to bore the children, so that there was always something to keep the conversation going. We need to study, we need to work.
When Yefremov wrote Heterofin, it became a bestseller. It's very fashionable, very contagious. Why not write something worthwhile? Is it even more contagious? Why can't such examples be found in history and in the modern world, not to show real things, where this culture will falter later? This artificial culture will falter before the meeting. That's the problem.
And what is more correct for a woman to choose? Family or career? But it's so important to take place, to realize yourself. We were taught this way in order to be interesting to our husband, so as not to bore the children, so that there was always something to keep the conversation going. We need to study. We need to work.
In the past, it was called Hetera. Hetera of Athens, remember.
Everything was ruined just now.
Beautiful, brave, sociable, educated. She could hold a conversation with any politician in any secular society. It was a woman, that there were always such women in society for certain purposes. It's like the goal was more inspiring secular society. There is no family, there are some traditions. No, this is also a role. Definitely for a secular society, such women are needed, so to speak. They don't have a high reputation. Maybe there is some kind of family, there is a mother, there is nothing of this. But they inspire any person with their appearance, their intelligence, their courage, their beauty. They have a key role in the secular world, an important role in politics too. Now, if someone wants to choose such a role, it's his choice simply. Perhaps this can also be done with God, I do not know. Maybe. But in general, a woman, if she makes a career in life, she should do it from the position of a mother, not from the position of a hetera. It's better from the mother's point of view. She can be a mother to other people, influential, caring, wise. The mother has all these qualities and possessions are great. And at the same time, she retains the status of a mother, not hetere. It's a pure inspirational force. You see, it's different. It's of a higher level. But now, if you create such an image of a mother, show it, society will tremble. These values will not waver, they will crack right away, because this is a very powerful image. This is a very big force. It's just that people don't see it now, so it's not clear what attracts them. On Without Fish and Cancer, Fish is said. How do they marry girls now who are not going to be either a mother or a wife, nor do they support the highest meaning of life? How do they marry at all?
Hetere?
Yes, they clean up the hetera. It's fashionable to be a hetera now. When Yefremov wrote the Athenian hetera, it became a bestseller. It's very fashionable, very contagious. Why not write something worthwhile? It's even more contagious. Why can't such examples be found in history and in the modern world, not to show real things, where this culture will falter later? This artificial culture will falter, will crack. That's the problem. But this means that we must first of all see it ourselves, learn to see it. If it is supported, it will become attractive. If it is not supported, it will not be attractive externally. That is, the mother is a beggar now, you know, ugly, wrinkled, with gray hair, with crying eyes, crying out. This is the image of a mother. That's what they brought him to. Of course, no one will be attracted, no one can be a mother. And the image of God, tell me, who is he? Is the bald old man out there somewhere? With a halo over his head, with a big belly, in a nightgown, always angry that it's unclear what's going on here. No one listens to him. Sending floods. Of course, no one is attracted by God. That's what culture has been turned into. We want to say that this is all an attractive aspect. Mother, Father, God, these are all attracted. Everything is there. Everything is there for a healthy, happy life. There is infinite energy. Hetera will not bring happiness.
Alexander Gennadievich, so what is a family for?
A family is needed to return to God. This is his only purpose. Any selfish interest destroys the family. If a family is needed for me, for my wife, for my children, then I will be at enmity with other families, deceive other families. If the family is needed for the whole society, my useful one, I will be at enmity with other societies, these are other nations. But if a family is needed for God, it will not be born with anyone. A citizen of the world is called. This family. There is a small family, there is a big family, it's all the family of God. We begin to understand this from a small family, where the father is a representative of God, the mother is a representative of God. This is where understanding begins, and the family should expand over time. That's why we say a woman, for her a career is becoming more and more of a mother. For a man, too, the same career more to become a father. It's a young man, it's lust, it's all in the past. It's appropriate for young people. To fall in love, to have feelings is normal, naturally, it's good. But it has to be elevated. After all, they even tend to deify it by nature. They immediately elevate it somewhere. And he says, no, 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 it's all easier, then you'll see for yourself, it'll all get boring. They immediately sit on the ground. That's where the problem starts. They want to translate all this into everyday life. There is no need to hurry. Let them elevate it. At first, it will grow artificially, and then they will learn to be like that, to maintain such images. It must be an effort. Let them make such efforts. Nature gives young people the opportunity to feel it, to rise somehow. Adults should support it, inspire it, which, of course, is not easy, but it's the right thing to do. These sublime feelings support each other all their lives. How? This is science. To deepen them means that already some spiritual values are being added more and more, and more and more. You age more, beauty goes away, but you become more spiritualized, become attractive. Firm this point of view of transformation. Internal transformation. She's not here now, so grandmothers, makeup stuff, plastic surgery. There is no transformation. So she clings to these wrinkles. They try to pull out there, drink some hormones, I don't know, they go crazy. No transformation, no family. There is just sex. Young people need to be saved. Older people should think about it, both men and women. Someone has to think about it. You already have a lot of useful work, you see. And the mass media also receives something in this regard. It may be a drop in the ocean, but something is happening.
Is she sharpening the fireplace?
Sharpens. You see, Vera. Yes, that's how you can gradually improve something.
Thank you very much, Alexander Gennadievich. I need to digest everything and go through what you said. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you for communication. I was inspired to say all this. I didn't know what I was going to say, but I also saw that you were experiencing something deeply you feel, and so I began to speak, responding to your feelings as well. I didn't know there would be such a conversation.
Thank you very much. I almost cried twice. I wanted to stop filming on the fact that the mother is the guide of God. This is, of course, yes. This is, of course, yes. And on the fact that in a career, it is necessary to transform into a mother's state. Yes, it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you.